So today we start with food chain. Every organism needs to obtain energy in order to live. For example, plants get energy from the sun. Some animals eat plants and some animals eat other animals. We have been studying this since the beginning, that we are obtaining energy from the sun, and some of them get direct energy directly from the sun, that is the producers, and the others get from eating plants directly or indirectly. All right. A food chain is a sequence of who eats whom in a biological community or an ecosystem to obtain nutrition. Now, the pattern of who is eating whom, like the deer eats the grass. All right, grass is never going to consume anything else. The deer is always going to consume grass or those small plants. It is not going to consume a rabbit. So, there is a particular pattern of who is eating whom. So this particular pattern that is followed in a biological community or in an ecosystem is said to be a food chain. You can underline that. A food chain is the sequence of who eats whom in a biological community to obtain nutrition. And why is this consumption done? To get nutrition for survival. A food chain starts with the primary source, energy source, the sun. So whenever you are starting a food chain, you're always going to begin with sun because it is the primary source of energy. The next link in chain is an organism that makes its own food from the primary energy source, that is a photosynthetic plant that makes their own food from sunlight, and chemosynthetic bacteria that make their own food from chemicals in hydrothermal vents. These are called autotrophs or primary producers. So, whenever you're forming a food chain, chain means there are going to be members that are interlinked. So, the first is always going to be the sun, that is the primary source of energy. Then the next in link would be autotrophs. And what are autotrophs? Either the photosynthetic plants, that is plants that carry out photosynthesis, all right, by absorbing the energy of the sun and converting it into food, or the other one is chemosynthetic bacteria. There's a kind of bacteria that manufactures its own food by absorbing the energy of the sun. It has got certain chemicals that are present, and these chemicals, in the presence of the solar energy, they manufacture their own food. There are vents made in that bacteria that are known as hydrothermal vents, and they have this chemical filled in them, and then manufactures the food by absorbing the energy from the sun. So photosynthetic plants, you can underline photosynthetic plants and chemosynthetic bacteria, they are the primary producers or the autotrophs, and they would always be the second link in the food chain. The next link in the chain is animals that eat next come organisms that eat autotrophs. So obviously herbivores are going to come, which are going to consume these autotrophs. These organisms are called herbivores or primary consumers. So the ones that are consuming the producers are going to be called as primary consumers. An example is a rabbit that eats grass. Like I said, a rabbit or a deer or a goat or any animal that is a herbivore, that is, that just eats the green plants. The next in chain is animals that eat herbivores, the ones that eat the herbivores. These are called secondary consumers. Secondary consumers are the ones that eat the primary consumers. An example is a snake that eats rabbits. So now they have given you a food chain. That is, there is sun, there is grass, there is rabbit, and then comes a snake. So there is the primary source of energy, then the autotroph, that is the grass, then there is a primary consumer, that is a rabbit, then a secondary consumer, that is a snake. In turn, these animals are eaten by larger predators, for example, owl that eats snakes. Now, next in chain will come tertiary consumer, that is an owl over here that is eating the snake. All right. The arrows in a food chain show the flow of energy. When we write the members of a food chain, we always link them by means of arrow. So the arrow head, that is the direction of the arrow, shows that in which direction the energy is flowing. So the arrow would always go from the sun to the producers to the consumers. All right, because this is the direction of the transfer of energy. As the energy flows from organism to organism, the energy is lost at each step. All right, while when the energy is getting transferred from one organism to the other, or from one link to the other link, some of the energy gets lost. Lost would mean released in the environment. 100% transfer of energy does not take place. That is, if supposingly the producer has manufactured, that is the grass has produced 1,000 calories from the energy of the sun, when the rabbit is going to consume the grass, only maybe 800 calories would be absorbed by the rabbit. Then when the snake is consuming the rabbit, only 600 calories might get stored in the snake, might get transferred into the snake. The other of it is lost or released in the environment. So each time the energy gets transferred from one member to the other, some of the energy gets lost. Please remember this. Then there are trophic levels. Now the trophic level of an organism is the position that it holds in a food chain. That is, what position is it placed in the food chain, whether the producer's place, whether the primary consumer's place, or the primary source's place. All the places that are taken by the organisms are known as the trophic levels. So what are the trophic levels of a food chain? Primary producers, then primary consumers, then secondary consumers, and then tertiary consumers. Again, a repetition of what I had explained to you earlier. You can either tick mark or underline. All these four definitions are very important. Why? Because first of all, you can be asked that what are the four levels of four trophic levels, or you might be asked to define any particular of the levels. Like you can be asked to explain what are primary producers, or what are primary consumers. So primary producers are the organisms that make their own food from sunlight and form the base of every food chain. That is, they are the starting point of every food chain. These organisms are called autotrophs. The plant community makes up the autotrophs. So the plant community is forming up your autotrophs. Now primary consumers are animals that eat primary producers. They are called herbivores or plant eaters. Example, deer, cow, grasshopper, etc. All the herbivores that feed on green plants, they would be the primary consumers. And secondary consumers are the animals that eat primary consumer. They are carnivores. Carnivores, omnivores, and herbivores you've already studied in your previous classes. So secondary consumers are either carnivores or omnivores. That is, the meat eaters, or both the plant eaters or the meat eaters. For example, dog, wolf, snake, tiger. A dog would also eat a chapati when you give it, and it would also eat the bones that you would give it. So a dog is an omnivore. So it will come in the place of primary consumer. Sorry, secondary consumers, and then carnivores are also going to come in the place of secondary consumers. Then tertiary consumers, they eat the secondary consumers. They are the next in the chain. These can also be called top consumers or top predators. Please mark it. You can be asked that who are the top predators, maybe in a small question, or being a part of a bigger question, you can be asked, or you can just mention it to make your answer good. That tertiary consumers can also be called top predators. The lion, tiger, eagle, etc. can be placed under this group depending on their position on the food chain. But depending on the position would mean that if, like for example, you can also place eagle in the secondary consumer when I just take the food chain as grass, rabbit, and then eagle. Fine. and I can also place it in the tertiary consumer when I introduce the snake also in between. Food chain ends up with top predators, animals that have little or no natural enemies. These, why are they mentioned as top predators? Top here means that usually the food chain comes to an end after this, because they usually do not have their enemies who are going to consume them. No, you might not have heard any animal that eats eagles or that eats owls. They usually, what happens to them, they usually die, maybe because of old age or due to some sickness or due to an accident or anything like that. And when they die, their dead bodies are either consumed by the hyenas or jackals, or they are decomposed by the decomposers. When an organism dies, it is eventually eaten by detrivores and is then broken down by the decomposers, mostly bacteria and fungi. Some organisms they are eaten by the detrivores, that is the leftover flesh or bones. They are eaten by all these, rats or maybe ants. You see an insect dies, the ants, they just gather around and eat up the flesh of that insect. So all these small animals that feed on the dead animals, they eat the flesh and the bones, and whatever is left of the dead animal is then decomposed by the decomposers or the saprophytes. Some organisms' position in the food chain can vary. Just a second. Light. All right, some organisms' position in the food chain can vary as their diet differs. For example, when a bear eats berries, the bear is functioning as a primary consumer. So it is not that a bear is always going to come in the position of secondary consumer only. No, because it is an omnivore. When we are taking up the food chain where a bear is eating the cherries, then we are going to mention it in the place of primary consumers. So you can see that in different food chains, their trophic level also changes accordingly on what it is consuming. So their trophic levels might change. When a bear eats a plant-eating rodent, like the bear is, then a bear is functioning as a secondary consumer. When the bear eats salmon, the bear is functioning as tertiary consumer. Salmon is a fish that would be taken as a secondary consumer. So when bear eats a secondary consumer, it becomes a tertiary consumer. So with the example of bear, they have given you the example that how can an organism be placed at the position of primary consumer as well as a secondary consumer, and sometimes that same animal can also be treated as a tertiary consumer. So it can be placed at different trophic levels. This is because salmon is a secondary consumer, since salmon eat herring that eat zooplankton, that eat phytoplankton, that make their own energy from the sunlight. This is a food chain from the aquatic life. All right, this is a food chain from aquatic life where phytoplanktons are a kind of green plants, very small, like they form a layer, and they are green plants only, and they trap the energy of the sun and they manufacture their own food. Then these are eaten by zooplanktons that are eaten by herrings. These are all aquatic creatures, organisms, and these herrings are then eaten by the salmon fish. So when the bear eats a salmon fish, it becomes a tertiary consumer. Then comes a food web. So when we talk about just a particular chain, where one organism is eating another organism, then it is a food chain. But when many of the food chains, they get mixed up together, it forms a food web. Now previously, that is on the previous page where the example of bear is given. Please put it in brackets or tick mark it, because if you are asked to explain that how can the trophic levels or the positioning of an animal vary, in a food chain, you can give the example of there and explain it in your own words. It is very good example that is given to you. So you can explain it in your own words, taking the same example. So now on page 48, you have figure 5.2, where figure of food web is given. You can see that there are various food chains in that. There is grass that is eaten by mouse, which is eaten by snake. This is one food chain. Then there is grass which is eaten by cricket, which is eaten by frog, which is consumed by owl. So this is another food chain. Then you also have grass eaten by mouse, which is eaten by hawk. You also have grass which is eaten by mouse, which is eaten by owl. So you can see that so many food chains are present over here. Then obviously decomposers are working at all levels. They are consuming the dead grass also, they're consuming the trees also, they're consuming the deer also, they're consuming snakes, hawks, owl, frog, cricket, all of the organisms. The dead bodies of all of the organisms are eaten by decomposers. So they are working at all the levels. So this interlinking of many food chains is known as food web. You can underline that. A network of many food chains is called a food web. The diagram shows food web consisting of numerous food chains. Can you count how many food chains are there? Let's start from all the examples that I have already mentioned right now. Here comes the types of food webs. They can be divided into two broad categories. One is the grazing web, the other is detrital web. You can tick mark, both of them are very important. A trophic web, that is based on consumption of the tissues of living organisms. All right, they are based on the consumption of tissues of living organisms. The planktons or the green plants are the producers and the source of energy. So in these food webs, that is grazing food webs, the beginning point would be a producer, that is planktons in case of aquatic plants, or green plants. They would be the starting point of the food chains, and all the animals that are consuming each other would be consuming living organisms. Such a type of food web would be known as grazing web. Then there is the other detrital web, where detrital ecosystems are community based around detritus or the remnants of dead organisms. A forest of mangrove trees, for example, is an example of a detrital ecosystem. The mangrove's dead leaves or bodies are consumed by fungi, bacteria, and protozoa, which are then consumed by insect larvae and lower water level organisms. So now the starting point of a detrital web is not a producer, but the dead parts of a producer. Like for example, in mangrove trees, here we are starting with the dead leaves or the dead bodies of the mangrove trees. When the when the mangrove trees they shed dead leaves, these dead leaves are then consumed by the fungi, like the fungus that develops on your stale bread. It starts developing on the dead leaves and parts of bodies of the mangrove trees. It consumes the dead plants, and then these fungi that form a colony, and they form a layer and start consuming the mangrove forest. These are eaten up by insect larvae. Larva would be like when insects, they go transformation, you know, na, they go undergo transformation. Like for example, butterflies, first in the form of a caterpillar, then in the pupa, and then forms a butterfly. So when it is in the caterpillar stage, similarly when the other insects, they have their larva stage, they feed on this fungus and bacteria and the protozoa that are consuming the mangrove dead remains. So this, what happens at first in the food chain is the mangrove dead leaves, then are the microorganisms or the detritus, that consume the remains of dead plants, and then these insect larvae, they consume these microorganisms, and these insect larvae they are consumed by the lower level water organisms. Lower level water organisms would mean the lower level would mean the primary consumers, or you can say small fishes or small insects of the aquatic ecosystem. All right. So because there is a consumption of dead organisms, therefore this particular web has been put up in a separate category where it is known as detrital web. All right. If there are few examples of grazing web given, grazing web in marsh community, marsh would mean the marshlands are wetlands. Usually they have a very humid areas, and they have very that kind of soil, very watery and muddy soil they would be. So in the that community there will be green plants, then butterflies are consumed by dragonflies, they're consumed by frogs, they are consumed by snakes, which are consumed by hogs. So obviously there would be enough rain because there are frogs involved in this chain. So in marshy lands, there rainfall is much over there, you would find muddy water, and this food chain would be prevalent over there. Then in forests, you find green plants, then ungulates, and then tigers. Then ungulates are herbivores that consume on green plants. Then we have grassland ecosystem where grass is found in abundance, very good quality grass is there. So grass is eaten by grasshoppers, which are again eaten by frogs, and then snakes and hogs. Obviously, when grass growth is good over there, obviously rainfall would be good. Pond ecosystem, if you look in a small pond, if you locate a food chain over there, there would be alga. Alga is often, you can see on the surface of the ponds or lakes, there is a green growth that you find over the surface of the water. And so this green layer that is formed is actually alga, that is a plant, not plant, you can say it is a food producing microorganism. All right, it comes falls under producer only, but it is a microorganism. So it is consumed by aquatic insect, which are consumed by small fishes, and then they are consumed by large fishes. If you see marine ecosystem would mean in the seas and the oceans, there is marine alga. Then small fishes or crustaceans, they eat this alga, which are consumed by large fishes, and then they are in turn consumed by very large fishes that you can say shark. Then if there is an example of detrital web given over here, that is mangrove leaves, they are consumed by detritus. Detritus, I told you, that is the microorganisms, that is the fungus, the colony of fungus or bacteria or protozoa. They are consumed by the crabs or the shrimps. Then they are consumed by small fishes, which are then consumed by large fishes. All right, so these are two different kinds of webs based on whether they